Hey y'all, hi. I'm Hannah, and here are 3 small habits that have had a big impact on my personal style and that you should be able to try without buying anything. Try one or try all 3 and see what it does to your style. I'm linking my book, and I'll also link my Patreon. I have a podcast over there. It's very behind the scenes. Okay, habit number 1. Here is the thing. The thing that I cannot stress enough. I did not realize how much decision-making energy was going into getting dressed every morning until I removed that decision from my morning. When I took that task and put it into the evening before, it was like removing a giant roadblock from my day. I'm not the first person to come up with this, but I am going to give you a deep dive into why it works and also why the old sort of regular default way wasn't working. So here's what was going on before for me with the old method. When it came time to get dressed in the morning, I was like pulled in all of these different directions and I didn't realize it was happening. I felt anxious to get on with my day, already thinking ahead to everything I had to do that day and sort of like anxious to get started, like to get on to what was going to be next. And so I felt pressure to get dressed quickly. But I hate being rushed in my creative process, in any creative process, and getting dressed for the day is a creative process for everyone. It is that by default. Fashion is the lived art form that everyone is forced to practice. And it's not just a creative process, it's also a logistical one, because sometimes you're forced to troubleshoot when you're getting dressed. Like frequently for me, I find the shirt that I want to wear, and then I go to get a bra, but like all of the bras that would work with that shirt are in the wash. So then I have to pick a different shirt. And then sometimes that means that I have to choose different pants, right? So it's like navigating the logistics. And when something like that would happen in the morning, when I was trying to get dressed, feeling a little rushed, my anxiety would spike and kind of become frustration. And then I would get like a fog over my sensibility about fashion and end up settling for something default, something comfortable. Often I would end up opting out of getting dressed and just choosing like a crop top and some sweatpants or some other iteration of activewear. And this was happening, I would say, more mornings than not. Picking clothes the night before has had the opposite effect. After a long day, I'm tired, but I'm not having to wear the clothes that I'm about to pick out right now. In that moment, for my brain, outfit building, it feels like a lovely, juicy, low-stakes task. I'm unwinding, I can sort of play. If I have to go back to the drawing board, that's fine. If it takes like time out of my evening, that's fine, because it's better to be playing around with my clothes and outfit building than scrolling on Instagram or online shopping or like other kind of rabbit holes that I might fall into. In that headspace, I find myself more willing to consider garments that I haven't worn in a long time, nicer pieces, slightly more statement outfits. I find myself more willing to give my future self, even though it's my future self just like not that far into the future, just the next morning, I find myself more willing to give my future self a quite interesting outfit. And then the next morning, when it's time to get dressed, I feel this tremendous sense of relief that the decision has already been made. The correct underwear has already been found. It's clean. It's all right there ready for me. I don't have to think about it. And I feel much more willing to wear something unusual or statement, to go out on a limb, because I'm not having to decide about it. I'm so much more willing to wear whatever it is. Evening Hannah is the right person to be making these decisions. And morning Hannah loves to relinquish control and conserve her energies, especially her decision-making energies, for the day that she's about to have. Whenever I pick my outfits the night before, they are better. They just are. And my morning always goes better. Okay, habit number 2. Y'all, I love this one. So we have this shoe rack by the front door, like shoes in the entryway. And it's not a small rack, but it's also not huge. And between my husband's shoes, which are huge, and then my walking sneakers, there's only room for 2 or maybe 3 pairs of my shoes to be there in the entryway. My toddler's shoes go in a drawer right there. So it's just his shoes and my practical shoes that are taking up all that space. Most of my shoes are stored elsewhere in the house, and that's fine. But the shoes that are right there next to the front door at any given time are the ones that get the most wear. So This is the habit. Recently, I started taking a moment once or twice a week to rotate a slightly unexpected or like boundary pushing pair of shoes onto the shoe rack next to the door. And maybe to put some of my default shoes away for a little while, like my easy shoes. If I wasn't doing this, what would happen is that my most casual, easiest to wear shoes would just always be by the door. And the ones that are just the next level up, like almost as easy to wear and quite a bit more statement, they would all sort of be gathering dust in the shoe storage in the other part of the house. So I'm taking a moment, consciously rotating interesting shoes into the spot by the door, and also keeping my options limited so that when I'm running out the door and just grabbing whichever pair is there, I maybe grab the interesting pair. It makes the decision to grab the more interesting pair easy instead of making it this whole other thing. Heels, when I rotate them in, I feel like when my heels are all somewhere else in the house, it feels like a big decision to wear them. I'm like, maybe, I'm going to put on a pair of heels with this outfit and it's going to be like a whole thing. But if there's a pair of fairly easy to wear mid-height or low-height heels, just hanging out on the shoe rack with my other shoes, it doesn't feel like such a big thing. I'm like, we're going to the grocery store. Why wouldn't I just grab those and put them on? They're just as easy to put on as any of my other shoes. So it really breaks down that sometimes mental barrier with heels. And heels add so much to an outfit and I love wearing them. And when it comes to practical shoes, this is the thing. Sometimes I need my most practical shoes, like depending on what I'm going to be doing when I walk out the door. But sometimes I don't. Like when I'm driving to the coffee shop to work on scripting for the whole morning and then driving home, I could wear extremely impractical shoes for that outing and it would be totally fine. And what was happening before is that my most practical shoes were always there right next to the door, and my more exciting but slightly less practical shoes were always elsewhere in the house, like out of sight, out of mind. So I was taking the practical shoes even when I could have worn the more exciting ones. And having a pair there, having an exciting pair right there, just opens that door and keeps it open. It's so simple. And the result is that I'm wearing a much greater variety of my shoes, and I love a shoe. I love my shoes. I'm wearing more of my shoe collection than I was before, and my personal style has been significantly enlivened. Another new thing that I'm keeping by the door that has added to my personal style is this raincoat. And this isn't one of the 3 habits. This raincoat is from today's video sponsor, Quince. Quince sent me these 2 raincoats, which have been so helpful. It was actually a troubling gap in my outerwear wardrobe. I have not had for a long time, a straight up all seasons waterproof coat to wear when it's pouring down rain. And it's partly because I love outerwear, so I'm kind of picky. Like a raincoat is a super practical item, but for me, it still has to have good design. I wanted something oversized, unfussy, kind of dramatic, but still unpretentious. These were my requirements. Like, it's raining really hard, but I'm in New York for a work event, and I still want to feel good in my outfit. And then my searches were always turning up like $300 raincoats, which is why I hadn't bought one yet. For me, this maxi length raincoat is the one that does it all. It's practical, but it's gorgeous. It can be easily dressed up. It's designed, but it's not over-designed. The oversized hip length version, this green one, it's ideal for gardening, going to the playground in wet weather, etc. And for both of them, the price is amazing. Like, I would happily have bought either of these. Quince works directly with manufacturers, so there's no middleman and no markup. And I find that model is particularly successful when it comes to practical necessities like these. Raincoats, robes. Joe and I each have one of these waffle robes, and we really like them. They come in a long length. I love Quince's silk sleep masks. I also buy a lot of toddler stuff from Quince. So recently, swimsuits, pajamas, bedding. I'll link some of my top picks down below, and I'll link the raincoats, of course. They have free shipping and 365-day returns. I have a QR code you can scan too. I'll put that on the screen. And let us now talk about habit number 3. So here's me about to leave the house. I'm dressed. I've put on the outfit that I picked out the night before. I've put on potentially my slightly more interesting pair of shoes. I'm about to leave the house and I'm saying the checklist out loud. Keys, wallet, phone. Actually, the most amazing thing happened the other day. I was doing this. I was getting ready to leave the house. I was getting myself together and I said, keys. And then my toddler, who's 2.5, was like, wallet, phone, sunglasses. He had heard me saying it so many times. It's like a mantra in his mind already. And I was like, wow, thanks. Thanks, babe. Keys, wallet, phone, sunglasses. Sunglasses. I regret it so bitterly when I forget to take a pair of sunglasses when I go out that I have incorporated sunglasses into my list. It used to just be keys, wallet, phone, and then I would be like, good to leave the house. Now it's keys, wallet, phone, sunglasses. And that has improved my life, but it's not necessarily the thing that has improved my personal style. Here's what has improved my personal style. I get my keys, I get my wallet, I get my phone, I go to get my sunglasses. My hand hovers over the selection that is there, and I am tempted to take the basic ones, the laid back ones, the quiet ones, the cool girl ones, the ones that make me feel chic and mysterious and untouchable as if I could ever. But you know what I mean. Some sunglasses are kind of like, they up the cool factor and the iciness factor. Sunglasses are notorious for that. But most of this summer, here's what I have done instead. I have chosen in that moment the dramatic Gucci's, the foolishly, absurdly statement ones, the ones that are the most intense in this way. I bought them years ago at Nordstrom Rack. They're pink. They're quite round. They have translucent lenses. Like you can see my eyes through them, right? They're pretty mid depth, but most importantly, they are pink, and I just take them. Why not? Why not? I have another pair that are also Gucci's that I also got at Nordstrom Rack at the same time. They're a little bit more of a mauve, and so they're a little bit less intense because they're not that rich pink, but they are just as quirky and maybe even a little bit weirder because it's like a grayish pink. They're slightly off, but in that fashion way. But neither of these pairs is anything like the slightly icy cool girl glasses or even the very basic sort of sunglasses that you don't even notice. They have more character. They have a sense of humor. They are more extreme. They kind of become the focal point of the outfit, and you can't miss them, right? Because they're right there on your face. So when someone looks at you, they see them. I once went to a neighborhood block party with a lot of people who are like our neighbors, but we don't really know them. We don't really know them yet. One would think it's like a somewhat high stakes social moment, right? Because you're meeting people who you are going to have around you for a long time because you live in the same neighborhood. You kind of want to make a good impression, I guess. It's not like a work conference or something where there are maybe a lot of people you're never going to see again, depending. Or going to the grocery store where there are a lot of people who you're just ships passing in the night, right? A block party where you're meeting new neighbors. Think what you will about the social stakes of a neighborhood block party in a neighborhood you've only lived in for a year. I did this. I was wearing a plaid shirt, actually kind of like the one I have on today, not the exact one, but kind of, and some oversized trousers. And I impulsively took those pink Gucci's as I was leaving the house, and I wore them, and then I forgot I had them on, and I wore them for the entire block party all afternoon. When I got home, I caught sight of myself in the mirror, and I was like, wow, I was really serving personal style at the block party, and I didn't even really mean to, but it all just made so much sense. I don't necessarily know if it sold me to our neighbors, but we're talking about personal style here, okay? Not whether your neighbors are gonna like what you're wearing, so this isn't neighborhood block party style advice. This is like personal style advice, period. And when it comes to personal style, I feel like I was hitting a very high bar on that day. And it was the sunglasses. They just really, really tied the room together. And the other thing that's great about sunglasses like that in particular, this is sort of a side note, lenses that are like a mid-tone yellow or green or pink or something like that, they add character, they block the light, so the sun is easier on your eyes. You can see out really easily, more easily than you can in very dark tinted lenses, and people can see your eyes. So it's better for something like an outdoor party where you're in conversation. It makes you more approachable in theory. It makes it so that you can have conversations so people can be looking in your eyes. Sort of like a cross between sunglasses and eyeglasses, like regular glasses or fashion glasses, fashionable eyeglasses. They're incredibly practical and they're just also really beautiful. So that's sort of a side note. It's a type of sunglasses that I really like. The habit, though, that has improved my personal style is being willing at that very last moment when I'm going through the checklist, keys, wallet, phone, sunglasses, to take the fun pair. Take the fun pair of sunglasses. It's such a high impact and yet low stakes fashion decision to make, because who can fault you for wearing your fun sunglasses? It's kind of like the effect of having your hair dyed a color, a fun color, except it's so incredibly temporary. And for you, it might not be sunglasses. There might be something like that, like a scarf or a coat or a handbag or something. You have a fun one, but you usually take the basic one. That could be a stand-in for this. For me, sunglasses, I get a lot of mileage out of sunglasses, but I think that this habit or this idea is applicable more broadly as well. Again, hopefully all 3 of them will help. Hopefully you'll be able to try these out without buying anything, without trying too hard or working too hard. Small, easy habits with a big impact. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really, really appreciate you for being here. Again, I'm going to link my book in the description box down below and my Patreon. And I hope that you are finding some time this week to take extra good care of yourself by putting away your screens for a moment and sitting quietly with yourself. Thanks, y'all.